Hi Avatar fans, King here, and this is one of my top 5 Avatar theories. Number 5, Gazan is Sun. And for those who don't know who Sun is, he's straight out of the Avatar The Last Airbender comics. He was a street urchin in the Earth Kingdom living in Yudao, participating in underground bending matches to gain funds for his group of other street children. Until he was founded and recruited by Toph to join her new metal bending academy. But why do I think Sun ended up growing up to become Gazan? Well, first off, it's because we have no idea where Sun is during the events of Legends of Korra. Which makes no sense to me because if he's one of the first lava benders that wasn't an avatar to hit the scene before even Gazan and Bolin, then he would have been very effective to fight against Gazan when him and the Red Lotus members were, messing up the Earth Kingdom, assassinating the Earth Queen, and trying to do the same with the current Avatar Korra. And we know little about the Red Lotus origins, except for the fact that what brought them together was the desire to tear down government systems and to take out political leaders such as the Earth Queen and the Avatar, believing that that would lead to the breakdown of the four nations and allowing people to be free again. And Sun, before joining up with Toph, didn't really trust her or the Avatar, and especially the Earth Kingdom government and its soldiers, believing that all of them were at fault for him and his group living on the streets of the Earth Kingdom and Yudao in poverty. But Toph responded, letting him know that whatever the Avatar did had nothing to do with her academy, and as long as they joined, they would have a place to sleep and eat while they perfected their earthbending abilities. Sun accepted Toph's offer, but that's where the story ends, and we don't know what ended up becoming of him afterwards. So my theory is because the time frames would match, allowing Sun to grow up to the point where he matches Gazan's age in the Legends of Korra, and because Sun was absolutely absent for the events of Legends of Korra, leads me to believe that Sun, after becoming disillusioned with Toph and her academy, ended up joining up with the Red Lotus and doing a bunch of terrorism against the various nations of the Avatar world until they got imprisoned by the OG Team Avatar, and ended up changing his name and became Gazan. And it also got me theorizing that Sun becoming Gazan was one of the reasons why Toph ended up abandoning her metal bending academy to her daughter Suyin to become a metal bending officer to fight against dangerous criminals and terrorists, for who Gazan had became, utilizing the very skills she taught him to threaten the four nations that were at peace, the very peace that she and her friends fought so hard to achieve for the Avatar world. And my reason as to why it wasn't brought up was because only Zuko from the OG Avatar team interacted with any of the Red Lotus members. And even then, Old Toph was only brought in to Legends of Korra to deal with Kuvira, which was a threat that came after the stuff with the Red Lotus trying to assassinate Korra. So that's the reason why Gazan didn't bring it up or Old Toph didn't bring it up. But what do you think, Avatar fans? If you will like and agree with my theory, then please take a moment to press that like button, as it really does help with me making more of these Avatar videos. And comment down your thoughts and theories as to where Sun was during the events of Legends of Korra, because I really do believe that given the time frame, and being that he was younger than Toph, who during the Legends of Korra ended up becoming an old woman, but I feel like Sun was much younger than her, so he would have just been an old man that wasn't so elderly that he would have had white hair. But given that Gazan has like a sweet mustache and long hair, I feel like Gazan's probably in his 50s or 40s. So he would probably be around the same age as Sun. So I'm thinking that Sun truly ended up growing up to be Gazan. But comment down your opinions and thoughts below. Number 4, Aang's immortality. Now, as Avatar fans would know, the only reason why Avatar Aang was able to avoid the Air Nomad genocide, and then much later on was able to keep Fire Lord Ozai from using the power of Sozin's Comet to genocide another bending nation, was because he was frozen in an iceberg for 100 years. But it had me asking, how is that even possible? Most people say it's because he went into the Avatar state, and it's because he's the Avatar that he was able to stay frozen for all that time without, decomposing and dying. But I feel there's a little bit more to it than that. I believe because the Avatar state is a self-defense mechanism of the Avatar that allows him to connect with all of the previous past Avatars, gaining their memories, gaining their experiences, all of it being focused into that current Avatar's body, allowing them to release unleash all of that potential power within them, that when Aang's life was in danger, when he was about to drown in that water with Appa, that when he triggered the Avatar state, subconsciously, that he was able to connect with one of his recent past lives, Avatar Kyoshi. And we all know what Avatar Kyoshi is famous for. Living up to the age of 230, looking like she was still a young adult when she died. She learned the key to immortality from another immortal earthbender known as Lao Ji. And without going into the very intricate details of how immortality works in the Avatar world, I believe that Aang doesn't really know, or rather remember, what it takes to be immortal. Instead, I believe that when he went into the Avatar state, either Avatar Kyoshi quickly informed him of what it took to put his body into an immortal state, so that he would be able to keep living through being in the glacier, making sure that his body doesn't deteriorate while inside of it, or that Avatar Kyoshi full-on possessed him to do so in his stead for those 100 years until he was eventually thawed out by Sokka and Katara. And you might as well ask, well, if he was doing that for those 100 years, then why didn't he just utilize the Avatar state's power to break out of the glacier and come out of the water? And my point to that would be, he was extremely afraid and confused with the only thing that was on his mind before he went to the Avatar state was desperately surviving and not drowning. So I could see, being a little kid, the only thing that Aang could think of was creating a glacier to keep himself from drowning, which of course is very foolish to, someone who isn't, in a life and death situation that can sanely think stuff through. But Aang, just being in that fight or flight or, live and die situation, just immediately utilized the Avatar state to keep himself from drowning and preserve himself in the glacier, not really thinking about what would happen afterwards. And being that, the only thing he focused on was keeping his cells from deteriorating via Avatar Kyoshi, then I could see that's the reason why he was stuck in a coma-like state, not, coming up with the idea of, hey, so I saved myself from drowning, why not utilize the Avatar state to break out of here and get out of the water? So that's what I truly believe Aang, low-key utilized Avatar Kyoshi's immortality, especially from the Legends of Korra, which is shown that, previous avatars can teach skills, extremely advanced skills, to the next generation, the way Aang, not only gave Korra the ability to energy bend, but also quickly taught her how to utilize it as well. And also why Aang, who was in a traumatic coma-like state, would forget what it took to... Number 3, Karuk's knife. Now, first off, this is going to be a reach. But before you go ham in the comment section below, I just want you to know that this is being based off of the idea that in each Avatar novel, giving the story of the lives of one of the previous avatars, it's revealed details about them, such as more details on Kyoshi's immortality, details on a secret power that Avatar Yunqin held, or how Avatar Roku had a twin, and how he was able to produce and bend iridescent flames because of a bending, empowering cave. And because we've already done 3 of the past 4 avatars that Avatar Aang and Avatar Korra were able to gain wisdom and advice for, that I feel like the last one, Avatar Karuk's novel, is probably gonna give us more info and shine a light on how he was able to hunt all those dark spirits. Because, I don't know if you know this, but spirits in the Avatar world can't really die. They're basically like energy, where they're able to either change form, disperse, be absorbed, eventually, regardless of what happens to a spirit, it will always return or be reborn into something new. That whole thing with the moon spirit, the moon spirit opted to, turn itself into a living thing, which was a koi fish. Same with the ocean spirit. So a spirit can technically die via that, but even still, they would return as shown in the Avatar comics with that spirit that the old spirit, General Old Iron, believed was gone, because she turned herself into a human and then she died, but her spirit still remained centuries later. So what I'm thinking is that Avatar Karuk did hunt spirits, but as we all know, bending is rendered useless in the spirit world. So for him to go up against dark spirits, it would make sense, as it was kind of explained in the live action adaptation series on Netflix of Avatar: The Last Airbender, that Karuk must have been using a specialized weapon to hunt dark spirits. Now, I don't know if that specialized spirit hunting weapon would ever become canon to the actual franchise, because the novels are canon to the events of the cartoon, same with some of the comics. But this whole live action adaptation is just that, an adaptation. They take things a little bit more serious and differently than the cartoon, which kind of like makes it not as good as the cartoon. But we all know that before the creators opted out, they wrote most of the stuff that transpired in the live action series. So I'm thinking, if Karuk's novel comes out after the second Roku novel, that this whole idea for Karuk's spiritual knife that he used to hunt dark spirits might actually be legit. That might actually become canon, because it was said that it was forged from materials found in the spirit world. So that could be possible for an avatar to, you know, take and forge into a tool, or in this case a weapon, to use against powerful spirits like Father Glowworm, which could have been the reason why such a powerful spirit such as Father Glowworm was kind of like afraid to encounter Karuk, but, you know, ended up cursing him. And if such an item does exist, it'd be cool for plot reasons, because who knows, maybe an antagonist could use it against the new avatar after Korra, or heck, maybe someone used it on Korra, and this could have been what led into the triggering of that cataclysmic events that ends up destroying the four nations and putting the seven.
Number 2, the Avatar will be the new Lion Turtles. Now, I know what some of y'all are already doing. They're typing up a storm saying, hey, that already happened with the Lion Turtles abandoning their duty of protecting humanity and the Avatar taking their place, trying to keep balance between people and spirits. But to say they fully replaced the Lion Turtles is a stretch, and here's why. You see, the Lion Turtles, before the creation of the Avatar, which they had a hand in making, were protectors of humanity via letting humanity live on their backs and, you know, build cities and towns on their backs to keep humans from being attacked and mutated by spirits. And when, you know, humans needed to hunt for food and other resources, the Lion Turtles would allow them to not just, you know, come and go whenever they please, but to also be granted the ability to bend the elements via energy bending. The Lion Turtles were the first practitioners of energy bending, and they could not only utilize energy bending to allow other life forms to bend the elements, but they could also bestow energy bending upon that person, allowing said person to bend the energy within other life forms, to give other life forms the ability to bend, or to take away the ability to bend from other life forms. As was seen when the last Lion Turtle gave Aang the ability to energy bend, so he may take away Fire Lord Ozai's firebending abilities. Also shown when Avatar Aang unlocked energy bending within Avatar Korra, so that she may be able to undo the, you know, permanent damage that Amon did by taking away a bunch of Bender's ability to bend. So it just goes to show that now I feel like the Avatar is complete. They, like the Lion Turtles, were able to, you know, bend the elements because there were multitude of Lion Turtles, one with earth, one with fire, one with water, and one with air, which is why the Avatar, via them, and Rava is able to bend the four elements. But now they have energy bending within their repertoire, 5 bending types. And I feel with energy bending, the Avatar can essentially create benders, which would make it the most broken Avatar ability if that is the case. And I can't really see why it wouldn't be the case with all of the examples shown from the show and, you know, novels. Now, what I am saying as to, you know, clarify on my theory of the Avatars being the new Lion Turtles is, I feel that last Lion Turtle that Avatar Aang interacted with would have eventually passed away either in Korra's era or the new upcoming Avatar's era. And I believe that the new Avatar in Avatar 7 Havens will mainly be utilizing energy bending, since most of her problems are going to deal with spirits. And because of this, I feel like it would be awesome if this new Avatar is utilizing energy bending to turn non-benders into benders. Because think about it, if the four nations are like destroyed because of this calamity that happens towards the end of Korra's era, and now everyone's living in these seven havens, the reason why there were four nations to begin with was because of the four main bending types: water, fire, earth, and air. But if a bunch of benders, and I hope this is not the case, but if a bunch of benders ended up, going the way of the dinosaur, or rather going the way of the sky bisons and dragons nearly did, then the world's gonna need more benders to be able to deal with the abundance of spirits that makes the world now inhabitable and forcing humanity to live within these seven havens. So this new avatar is gonna have her work cut out for her, and she's gonna have to learn how to utilize energy bending, which should be no problem, because Korra, even if she rebooted the avatar cycle to make her the only avatar that this new avatar, Pavi, is going to be able to commune with, Korra still knows all the ins and outs of energy bending, at least from her experiences utilizing it and from what she learned from Aang, that she can teach the new avatar, Pavi, everything she knows about it, and Pavi can build on it as she, grows and learns and becomes, her own type of avatar. And if she learns how to give bending to non-benders, bro, it's gonna change the game, man. And you won't have to worry about, the situations of her giving bending to someone who, turns out to not be worthy of it, because at the same time of her having the ability to give bending, she can also take it away if need be, like Aang did to Ozai. So it would be awesome, and that's my theory as to why the Avatar would become the new Lion Turtles, because they already protect people. They, guard them from spirits and try to keep the balance. They can bend the four elements, and now, including this fifth one, energy bending, they essentially can grant people bending. They are the Lion Turtles. The only thing they're missing is being, as big as them. But hey, as shown by Korra when she goes into her astral form, or by Aang in the comics when he creates that elemental golem, they can also go supersized. So yeah, they're essentially the new Lion Turtles. Number 1, how reincarnation works in the Avatar world. Now, this one's gonna be a doozy. It might very well be a reach, but hey, I'm gonna try my best. And if you like, share, subscribe, and follow. The thing is, a lot of people have wondered for many, many years on how spirits and reincarnation work in the Avatar universe. And that's because we have the spirit world, but it tends to be way different from any ideas of an afterlife, because yeah, we saw Uncle Iroh inhabiting it as well as General Zhao, but Iroh chose to, leave his body behind, becoming a spirit and deciding to live in the spirit realm, while General Zhao was forcibly taken by a very pissed off ocean spirit. So it makes sense why he was, thrown into the spirit world and forced to, be imprisoned in that fog of lost souls. And a lot of people like to say, well, okay, but if the spirit world is not the afterlife, then where do all spirits go when they pass away in the Avatar world? I mean, we do know that with the Avatar spirits, they tend to inhabit their own space, but people don't know if that space is within the Avatar or it's some part of the spirit world. And I'd say that is very unique to the Avatar, that whole place that Roku was showing when he was explaining to Aang of everything pertaining to the Avatar state. I feel that the Avatar cycle and the Avatar spirits are their own thing within Rava, but when it comes to where spirits go, you gotta bear with me, because this is gonna be a little bit long. I'm thinking that there isn't an afterlife in the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And the reason I say that is because of the idea of reincarnation. I believe that it isn't just the Avatar that reincarnates in this universe, that every living being reincarnates in the Avatar world. And whether they become an entirely different life form, like becoming an animal, or stay, a human, or, stay within the same nation, or kind of cycle through other nations, is whatever the creators or writers of Avatar wants to make it. But the reason why I came to this conclusion is because of the idea of spirits and how they never die. How spirits are like energy. They can change shape, they can disperse, be absorbed, or, just if a spirit is powerful enough, become human again, as shown by Lady Tenhai in the comics, as well as an example shown in the cartoon with the ocean spirit and moon spirit becoming fishes. And as Rava told Wan, the very first avatar, that because Wan's goal was to try to, maintain balance within the world of the avatar between humans and spirits, but he wasn't able to do so in his lifetime, Rava told him that she would stay with him through all his, future lives, the lives he would have after he reincarnates. And that always stuck with me. I mean, like, what does that mean? Does that mean, like, Wan is within every avatar? And technically that is the case. But what, I came to the idea of when I'm, like, critically thinking about this is that energy, just continues changing the longer it pertains. And I'm thinking with spirits that come from humans that have passed away, like, their, mortal body has eventually, kicked the bucket, that when the spirit, leaves the body, that the energy from that spirit is used to fuel new life, i.e. the birth of a new person. And I'm thinking just like with the avatar, that the memories of that spirit becomes locked away within that new life as it's, making room for new memories and new experiences of this new person that the energy from that spirit was used to birth. And I'm thinking that the only reason that the avatar is able to remember his past lives is because of Rava. She holds not just the elemental power to, bend the four elements, but she also holds the memories of all of the avatars that she has been, fused with, following Wan's reincarnations. And I'm thinking it's the same case with everybody and every creature in the avatar world, that when they pass away, their spirit, if it chooses not to continue, existing as itself, going into the spirit world or staying in the human realm, that they just go and become a new life, that their energy is used to birth a new life. And it's kind of a crazy idea, but reincarnation as an ideology is already a crazy idea. So if you agree with my, thought process behind this insane Avatar The Last Airbender theory, then please like, share, subscribe, and follow. Ring that notification bell for more crazy Avatar The Last Airbender theories, and comment down below your thoughts as to how reincarnation in the Avatar world works. Please go check out my GoFundMe for the bending staff. This is King of Fairies Avatar Project Bender Staff Lore. These events takes place between Season 2 and Season 3 of Legend of Korra, right after Harmonic Convergence, but during the time when Korra was dealing with the Spirit Vines in Republic City. During this time, the Order of the White Lotus approached Varric with the task of wanting him to create a weapon that could either boost the Avatar or substitute for their presence if they were ever slain. With this fearful idea coming from the fact that Korra was almost taken out and the Avatar cycle was rebooted as a result of that. And they were willing to pay Varric a large sum to do this request. But Varric had no interest until they presented him the legendary items for which to forge this weapon. Items that they secretly spent decades collecting. Sokka's meteor sword, the teacup that once held the light spirit Rava in it, and the burnt remains of Aang's original glider staff. With all of these items having a deep connection to the Avatar, for example, with the glider staff remains before it got burned helped Avatar Aang get through his adventures and was even frozen with him in that iceberg for 100 years. Sokka's space sword had a deep bond with Sokka, as he found the meteorite and forged it with Master Piandao to create a powerful weapon. And because Sokka was part of the OG Team Avatar of Avatar Aang, through Sokka, Aang also has a connection with the sword. And the teacup once held the light spirit Rava, which is now the Avatar spirit that exists within all avatars. So of course, to create a new type of weapon for the Avatar that will boost their powers, / might create a weapon that could substitute the Avatar, the energy of Rava is still a little bit in the teacup. And with Varric seeing all of this, he is more than happy to accept the White Lotus request and starts beginning work on this new weapon, as he uses the remains of Aang's glider staff to draw the energy from the teacup of Rava the light spirit. Now the energy is in the remains of the glider staff. And with melting down Sokka's space sword, and combining a bunch of advanced circuitry that he's been working on, he studies the designs of air nomad glider staffs and decides to model this weapon after that, utilizing the Rava empowered glider staff remains as the core for this new glider staff, basically being the base for it. He then molds the space meteorite metal into the mold for this glider staff, having this new type of glider staff being made out of essentially steel and metal, iron and metal, rather than wood, and having the fibers, the cloth for the wings of this glider staff being made out of different type of material, mainly that of cloth from the Fire Nation, so it would be fireproof. And once Varric finishes work on it, just by grasping the new type of glider staff, a rush of elemental energy bursts, creating a wave of water, earth, fire, air. And Varric's not even a bender, but because the staff was made with items that have a deep connection to the Avatar and is empowered by the energy of Rava, the current Avatar spirit, it essentially made the staff an avatar in a way, granting those, benders or not, the ability to bend multiple elements like the Avatar. So of course, Varric gets excited by this, realizing he can monopolize this, and he tells the Order of the White Lotus that he failed in his experiment. Not only that, but all of the items that they gave him, the rare legendary ones, exploded in a laboratory malfunction. Which of course made the Order of the White Lotus mad, but they knew the risk in doing this, so they decided to forgive Varric and push all of this under the table. And this left Varric alone to secretly mass produce what he would now call the Bender Staff, creating 200 plus copies of it. But because he didn't have the necessary items needed that would have a deep connection to the Avatar, and because he didn't have more of the Avatar spirit Rava's energy, these 200 copies weren't as strong. They couldn't generate the ability to bend the elements for the user. They could only generate lights and sounds that would simulate bending the elements. So he decided to sell them all to me, and I'm deciding to sell them all to you in the spirit of Varric. Top 7 bending powers that would be overpowered in the Avatar state. Number 7, lightning generation and lightning redirection. Technically 2 abilities, but can be utilized hand in hand within the firebending repertoire. But regardless of how abundantly used it has become recently within the Fire Nation, it is still a unique deadly skill for a firebender to develop, which is why it was such a rare technique to learn before the Legend of Korra. And explains why most avatars didn't use it, because most of them didn't even know it existed. But now imagine a fire avatar who gets taught in his firebending training not just how to redirect lightning, but to actually shoot it. Now imagine this avatar shooting lightning, but in the Avatar state. We all thought that lava bending was a sub-bending power of the Avatar, as they could bend both earth and fire, until it was clarified that it was actually a rare sub-bending ability of earthbenders. But if an avatar in the Avatar state is able to simultaneously use lightning generation and lightning redirection, then they could legitimately utilize a form of lightning bending. Then they would not only be able to generate powerful lightning storms, but to also bend and control the voltage, allowing them to be the most deadliest avatar that ever existed. Number 6, combustion bending. Combustion bending is an extremely powerful, deadly, and rare sub-bending of firebending. By focusing all of your firebending power into your forehead, then compressing it, then releasing it at your targeted prey, you shoot out a beam of highly explosive heat energy that blows up anything it comes in contact with. And the process to make a combustion bender is extremely dangerous, even more dangerous than the sub-bending power itself. Because only 1 out of 10 firebenders can actually live through the process to become a combustion bender. But I just think it would be awesome if an avatar could go through the training process and achieve combustion bending and be the very first avatar to become a combustion bender. I mean, we all think it's cool with Aang with the arrow tattoos that glow each time he goes into the avatar state. Well, imagine that, but with a combustion bender's third eye mark. Just because it's tied to a bender's chi, just like with the arrow tattoos. And an avatar using combustion bending, especially in the avatar state, talk about the definition for overkill. They'll be able to blow up mountains, forests, completely evaporate lakes, and absolutely obliterate armies. I mean, I always joke around about Aang with his pacifist ideals turns into an absolute nuke when he goes into the Avatar state. Well, imagine him in the Avatar state with combustion bending. Nah, because he'll probably never use it in the Avatar state. But Korra or Kyoshi? They'll be so quick to pull that trigger. One Avatar state powered combustion bending from them, and an entire city could be wiped off the map. Number 5. Flight. As we learn in the Legends of Korra, flight is the rarest subbending ability of airbending that any airbender can unlock. So rare, in fact, that only 2 airbenders in the entire history of the Avatar world ever unlocked the ability. And the reason why it's such a rare airbending ability is because you have to let go of all earthly possessions and sever all earthly ties to become as light as air, subsequently giving you the power to float endlessly, as Guru Lahima, the wisest airbender who ever lived and was the very first to unlock this rare ability of airbending, went 40 years without ever touching the ground. So imagine such a broken airbending ability but utilized by the Avatar in the Avatar state. I mean, any Avatar in the Avatar state is like a Saiyan from Dragon Ball going Super Saiyan. But being able to fly without the need of propelling yourself through firebending or airbending, I mean, it is a subbending ability of air, but the fact that it doesn't take any of your stamina to use, and that it's like flipping it on and off, you can be flying or floating in a constant state, and that through the Avatar state, it could potentially be boosted, allowing you to fly as fast as you want, potentially hitting Mach speeds, would really add another level of broken to the already broken Avatar state. But as we know, no Avatar could actually reach this power without abandoning the world, and they could never do so because their birthright duties is to keep the world in balance. But an Avatar fan could still dream. Number 4. Metal bending. Now, Avatar Korra might have been the very first Avatar to be able to learn and utilize metal bending. So props to her for that, but I don't believe that she had a chance, at least none that we've seen, to be able to fully utilize metal bending in the Avatar state. Because as we Avatar fans know, the Avatar state is like a super booster. Any bending done through that is powered up by 100, maybe even 1,000. So what would metal bending in the Avatar state even look like then? Well, in the comics, it was shown that Avatar Aang was able to create a huge earth golem to fight against the giant ancient spirit of General Old Iron. And because those comics are canon, it just goes to show that the same could potentially be done with metal bending if there's enough amount of metal around to utilize for that purpose. And we all know that there is, because of the abundance of cities in the Legend of Korra era, which are made predominantly with various metals, especially Zaofu, which is fully made out of metal. And with the advancements of mecha technology growing ever steadfast in the Avatar world, I truly believe that the Avatar after Korra will be able to utilize metal bending in the Avatar state to create a mecha of her own. Or maybe just a giant iron golem, since I don't think she'll be that smart to make it that intricate, but hey, if she is, bonus. And from the leaks of the new Avatar, it shows that she'll be missing a leg and will be using a metal one instead. So maybe she'll have it on and functioning through metal bending, who knows? Number 3, plant bending. Now the reason why this is so high is because the world is filled to the brim with vegetation, and we haven't yet seen an Avatar plant bend. But if we did, and they were to do so in the Avatar state, it could be a problem. Hugh, one of the rare few plant benders from the swamps, proved how useful, versatile, and resourceful plant bending can be to a person. Especially if you know how to connect with plants to see through them, allowing you to be at one with the world in a matter of speaking. Basically allowing you to have senses on a whole nother level of seismic sense. And that's not all, because remember how Hugh was able to disguise himself as a giant swamp monster by covering himself with vines through plant bending to essentially create a giant plant body armor? Well, in the comics it's shown that the Avatar can virtually create a giant elemental golem body armor to fight against giant adversaries. So imagine if they were to do so through plant bending. I mean, turning an entire forest of vegetation into a huge plant armor, that would be ridiculous but awesome as AF. I mean, the spirit vines attacking Republic City just showed how much of a problem that much vegetation can be. So the Avatar controlling that much vegetation through the Avatar state would essentially be unstoppable. Well, maybe not completely unstoppable, but an Avatar doing plant bending in the Avatar state would be on a whole nother level of a problem. Number 2, blood bending. Blood bending is the broken, forbidden subbending of water bending, which allows bloodbenders to bend the very blood inside a living person or creature, turning them essentially into a living meat puppet that bends to that bloodbender's will, with one of the very few things being able to counteract it being the Avatar going into the Avatar state. But imagine how broken an Avatar would be if they utilized bloodbending in the Avatar state. Now hold up. Unless they're related to Amon's family line, I'm not saying they'll be able to utilize blood bending willy-nilly, as waterbenders can only blood bend if, not only if they know how, but if they're in the presence of a full moon boosting their water bending potential. But who knows, maybe if they're in the Avatar state, they can boost their water bending powers enough for them to blood bend even without the need of a full moon. But I'm just saying, powerful bloodbenders have been known to bend multiple people at a time, including those of powerful benders, enslaving all their bodies to their blood-bending power. And Amon, the most powerful bloodbender we've ever known, found a way to utilize his psychic bloodbending to damage chi flow within a person to permanently take away their ability to bend, with the only thing being able to counteract that is the Avatar utilizing energy bending to give back their bending. So I'm thinking an Avatar going into the Avatar state could probably bend an entire army's worth of benders to their will. And I'm just saying it would be an insanely savage premise if an Avatar went into the Avatar state to fully demolish an army of benders and then utilize blood bending in the Avatar state to make them rise back up again and use them as a weapon against their very own nation. Number 1, energy bending. Now, the only reason energy bending is the highest is because of the full untapped potential of it. Because true Avatar fans know that the Lion Turtles in Rava were the very reason for the Avatar's very existence, because the Lion Turtles gave the Avatar the ability to bend the 4 elements, while Rava allowed him to hold all 4 elements without dying, and would continue to pass on such great power through Avatar Wan's reincarnations. And because with energy bending, you can bend all sorts of energy, especially one within a person. And you can either utilize that to take away a person's bending, or potentially use it, like the Lion Turtles, to grant someone bending. And I'm not talking about giving back someone's bending power that was taken away. I'm talking about giving a non-bender who was born without the ability to bend, bending powers like Sokka, like Asami, like Ty Lee. Basically, all of these miraculous, badass non-benders who fans have always wanted to see what they could be capable of if they were just given the chance. And I'm just saying that the Avatar is capable of that. They just gotta figure out how, especially with the last Lion Turtle possibly going extinct. Boys and girls, I'm just here to tell you that energy bending is the most powerful bending power that the Avatar now has in their repertoire. And that the new Avatar after Korra is definitely going to need it in this new Seven Haven era.